somebody said that power consists of the establishment, the creation and maintenance of scarcity. And yet what we need for truly democratic progress is abundance. And we need abundance, though, with effective flows of energy, materials, and information. And I'm going to suggest that what we really need, and what is beginning to be of interest to people in Europe and elsewhere, is a circular economy. Those ain't mine. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about circular economy and also about our latest research that we've done, which is with McKinsey, and it's around the idea of growth within. It's a study of 3 big areas in Europe, which is mobility, the built environment, and food. But first of all, a quick romp through some of the well, there's a background first on what I do, or what I'm involved in. You can just, I'm told I should do that every time so that people have a bit of a basic background of what we do in the MacArthur Foundation. We're essentially an economics think tank. And our ambition is to accelerate the transition to a circular economy, one that does provide abundance, but decouples us from resource wasting activities in particular, and leverages the power of the internet and digital opportunities. So it's got a lot to say about smart cities and growth. But first of all, we need context. Context provides meaning, and meaning provides a sound basis for action. So a lot of people just say, well, just tell me what to do, or show me something interesting, or show me something really exciting. But unless we know the context in which we're working, it might well either lead to nothing or mean very little indeed. Now, we don't really talk about the macroscope very much at all. We know about microscopes, we know about telescopes, but we don't use the detailed dropping advantages, the pattern-seeking advantages or perspectives very often. But that's exactly what I'm going to do today. This is the economy we know. It's been very successful. It works very well if you've got cheap energy, cheap materials, and cheap credit. None of those seem to be working out terribly well at the moment, because perhaps worst of all, we've got a lack of demand and a very large number of problems with things like unemployment. But here's just a couple of these problems. We have volatility in the metals, materials, commodities area. So that's very difficult to run very large-scale systems. If you've got this sort of volatility, you don't know what it's going to cost. You don't know how much security there is in the supply situation. And you don't know how much speculators might be in the market as well. That very big rise in commodity prices coincided with China's release of going from about $3 trillion of debt to 12. And it's very easy for speculators to jump on that sort of credit boom era and push the prices up. But they've drifted down and up and down, and it's very hard to plan. The economy isn't working very well either. It isn't just materials, it isn't just energy. But if you look at the long-term trend, this is relating to OECD countries, 13 of them, obviously relevant to Europe, we're not getting in the sort of trend that we might want to be in, because it's a downward slope since around 1961. Growth is harder and harder to get and is less and less satisfactory. So that isn't a great advertisement for a linear economy. But perhaps we can, because I've got to move on quite quickly, say, well, if we're not running a linear, mechanistic throughput economy, the one that helped us in the Industrial Revolution, what sort of economy could we model? What sort of economy could we work on? And this one seems to work. Here's an economy. Energy through, materials cycle forever. Why not take a few cues from that? It's not rocket science. And these sorts of people have been working on this for decades, on and off, but they all look at it from a systems perspective. They're not taking a partial view, they're taking a big picture view on how feedback-rich systems work. Of particular note is Cradle to Cradle, McDonough and Braungart. A lot of firms in Europe, particularly in Holland and Germany, are working to design products in which the key elements are that there is no waste. Not only is it designed out, anything that is put out is food for another system. It's not just efficiency and waste reduction, it's trying to design products and services which fit the overall flow. Now, in several reports, and the European community itself is coming up with it had one go at a circular economy package. It's coming up with another one in December. We're here. Here in the middle on the downward slope is a linear economy on the top to bottom, but with constructively designed loops so that we can get an economy which is restorative by design, which optimizes flows of energy and materials. Now, on the right-hand side, and Braungart and Madonna talked about two flows, one technical, which is all of the durable stuff, and the other one, food and everything that can be safely run through the biological side. They pointed out that it's not so much the recycling you see there that's a circular economy, on the right-hand side, taking used materials, smashing them up and putting them back in as a source of raw material. It's the interesting ones around the inner loops there, which make, we are told, McKinsey did a little study on this, we're told have great profit opportunities, great revenue opportunities. And that's exactly where IT plugs in. If we know where our assets are, we know how they're functioning, we know how they're behaving, and we know how we can get access to them or not, and this is a part of the key in the ICT revolution, we've got a whole way of generating business models which aren't about throughput, they're about stock maintenance, they're about getting extended life out of products, about selling things 6 times, or selling the use of them 6 times, about the advantages of remanufacturing. You know, for instance, that Rolls-Royce engines won't sell you an engine for an aeroplane. They will sell you power by the hour. Their engines are monitored in flight so that they know how their engines are performing. They know the service they're giving you, and they guarantee that performance. And they also save a great deal on materials because they can intercept problems before they get worrisome. They prevent excess stocking of materials around the world. So it's rethinking business models, which is going to give us the opportunity to make much better use of resources. And on the left-hand side, not so much a concern for today, more in the food area, it's about cascading materials, getting value out of things as they decline, as they become less and less coherent. So you take anaerobic digestion as a way of getting biogas out and getting a substrate that's useful for other business opportunities. And this general notion of a circular economy, one full of feedback, makes much better use of resources altogether. And it is built largely on the advent of effective ICT. Now, because we want to look at, move on quite quickly and we've got very little time, some people say, well, what is this circular economy? Can you do it in a page? And this is a sort of meeting where things are appreciated if they just fill a page. So we've got 3 chunks to it, really, and this is these, if you want more details, it's plenty on the Ellen MacArthur Foundation.org website. But there's the philosophy. It's not just come out of nowhere. It's about how we think and learn. It's about innovation in that sense. We're thinking more in systems rather than in parts. We're thinking ecologies, not single animals, if you want to use that analogy. Now, the world sees how we work much more as a complex adaptive system these days. The world is not like a machine. We've given that up, haven't we? And so we see it as a dynamic, non-linear system, which means that economics, hopefully, one day, will begin to reflect the science so that we understand economics not as an economic machine to consume resources and spit it out at the other end and direct some value to some people, but more as an opportunity to see effective flows of materials or products and get very wide access to it. Now, how to do it, this is where Cradle to Cradle and those other workers come in. Design everything is food, in 2 cycles, either technical or biological. And continue the shift towards renewables, it's going quite well actually. And shift from selling goods to services and performance. Because why are you selling the thing? Why not just sell access to it? Why not sell performance? In Schiphol Airport, Philips and associated companies are involving with selling lux, selling light on the surfaces in Schiphol. They don't sell them light bulbs. They don't sell them just a contract for lighting. They sell them a performance level of lighting. And Philips and their associates do all of the upgrades, they do all of the maintenance, so they're not really selling light bulbs at all. That's an old-fashioned idea, because you can increase revenue by investing in better technology as you go along, and the customer gets what they want, which is lighting as they need it, when they need it, without any of the hassle, without any, oh, what do we do with these light bulbs? Do we recycle them? It's all taken care of. So a shift from selling goods to services and performance, ICT key to that. And rebuild capital. Why shouldn't we have more stuff? If we can rebuild forests and fisheries, and we can restore products, if we can upcycle them. And this is very important too, because we're told that, oh, things are scarce. They're only scarce because we've got a very crappy economic throughput system. The world is awash with materials if we know how to put them into effective flows. We want to celebrate diversity, and this is a key from systems thinking. Vibrant ecosystems are diverse. Systems which are resilient and creative are diverse. So we celebrate diversity. It's about innovation and resilience. They both come together in a system. Now it takes some policy, it takes some enabling conditions. You can't just do this because it's a great business advantage. You can do it, but there are always rules of the game. So one that's been around for quite a while is prices should reflect the full costs. If we want a market to work, we have to have prices reflecting the full costs, or it wouldn't be rational. If you want to keep going for an irrational market, fine. You're clearly not interested in the market. You're interested in how you can skew it. And example, why do we tax people? The world is awash with very talented young people, for example, highly educated young people who want a chance to do things. But as soon as they get a job, we want to tax them. Why do we tax the things that we don't like the pollution, like the waste, like the non-renewable resources, to make sure they're used much better, so we get better utilization of resources, better utilization of assets. So tax shifting is probably a great idea if you want this to work. And one thing that I can't go into today, I haven't got the time, 6 minutes, is money and finance. They're part of the model. So where does that leave us? Here's our latest report. It's called Growth Within, and that looks at, as I say, the built environment, mobility, and food. And it uses a framework called Resolve, which is regenerate, share, optimize, loop, virtualize, and exchange. These are elements of a circular economy. And here's some of the firms that are getting involved with this shift. Now, it's not just one of these things, it's not one of these firms, but together it builds a picture of opportunities, and that's why I recommend you have a look at Growth Within. It's just free online to download, because there's quite a lot of interest in it, because we can't keep running a linear economy, because it doesn't deliver the growth, it tends to deliver unemployment and structural difficulties, and it doesn't use resources in a smart way. And if you want a smart city, you need smart resource use overall. You can't make a smart city in a linear throughput waste economy. That would be absurd. So in the built environment, lots of innovations you will have heard of. These are some of the possibilities, but it's particularly about a building ecosystem on the right-hand side. How we can integrate, using, again, the smarts, the cleverness of the IT system, how can we make much better use of materials, much better use of design, and so on. The one I wanted to look at more was this one. This is a mobility one. We had a look at multimodal mobility in the report, and there's lots on it. But these are some of the exciting possibilities people in this group will be well aware of, particularly around the driverless cars, more autonomous cars, which might be 3D printed parts for. They might be locally based. There might be all of these different modes of getting around the city. It's not just about cars, it's about transport and cycling and all the other schemes. But it's very exciting. What the report revealed was a great deal of opportunity to lower people's costs of getting around. And because so much space in the city is used for transport-related infrastructure, roads, traffic lights, everything like parking, a great resurgence in the city itself is likely if we can go towards a more multimodal mobility system. And that would relieve, if it's done well, it would help improve the possibilities of building new houses, new businesses, or whatever. And again, this system would promise a reduction in costs and a reduction in resources. So that's quite nice. I have to read the report for the details, because we don't really want this. We know humans are resilient. But just because you could no longer afford a hall to put your party in, do you really have to just use the local forecourt because it's got lights? You know, we can cope. We're humans, very adaptable. But I think it'd be better if we could have a system in which choices could be made which weren't pushed in this direction, where we can afford things as we might wish to, rather than having to cope. I just want to mention at the end, I've got 52 seconds, we've got our own online resource, if you like, coming up in a week or two. It's an online festival of ideas. It runs for 3 weeks. If you don't catch it, you lose it. And it's all about how the economy is changing. It's not just about circular economy, it's about innovation, crowdsourcing, whatever. And you're welcome, very welcome to join in that, or even put something on yourself, because we've got the theme, the economy is changing, what do I need to know, what do I need to do, what do I need to experience? So I will leave it there with 16 seconds to run, which gives you time to climb on stage, and the rest of you time to give me some applause, perhaps.